Imagine this. You wake up one morning. Everything seems normal. You make your coffee. You check your phone. And then you realize someone you knew, someone you loved, someone you spoke to yesterday who smiled at you, who said, "See you tomorrow." It just disappeared. There is no body. There is no note. There is no explanation. Just a void. A space where a person used to be, as if the universe had decided to erase them from existence. Welcome to Untold Nightmares. Tonight we won't be sailing haunted seas or exploring abandoned mansions. Tonight we'll talk about something much more terrifying. The reality. Because there are real, documented cases, investigated by the most competent authorities in the world, that simply don't make sense. Disappearances that defy all logic. That break the laws of probability. That leave behind more questions than answers. Tonight I'll present to you 3 of the most disturbing and genuinely inexplicable cases in modern history. Prepare to question everything you think you know about reality. Because after hearing these stories, you'll look at shadows differently. Springfield, Missouri. June 7, 1992. It's summer. The air smells of freshly cut grass. Families are celebrating graduations. It's the kind of American town where everyone knows everyone, where the doors are left unlocked, where nothing bad can happen. Until it happens. Cheryl Levitt, 47. A working mother, hairstylist, and beloved by everyone in her community. Susie Streeter, 19. Her daughter. She had just graduated from high school the night before. Her whole life was just beginning. Stacy McCall, 18. Susie's best friend. Also a recent graduate. 2 girls with a bright future ahead of them. These 3 women disappeared from the face of the earth in a single night. Without a fight. Without a scream. Without a single drop of blood. And the most disturbing thing, everything indicates that they never left the house. Let me paint you a picture of what happened. On the night of June 6th, Susie and Stacy attend several graduation parties. They're watched by dozens of people. They're happy, laughing, making plans. Around 2 a.m., they decide to sleep at Cheryl's house instead of staying with other friends as they had originally planned. A last-minute change. A change that cost them everything. At 8 a.m. on June 7th, friends arrive at the house to pick up the girls and take them to a water park. They ring the doorbell. Nobody answers. Worried, they try the door. It's open. And this is where everything becomes impossible. They enter the house. Everything is perfectly normal. Too normal. The 3 women's purses are there. Their wallets. Their IDs. Their money intact. The beds are made, except for one, where someone had clearly slept. The girls' clothes are folded on a chair. Cheryl's car keys are in their usual place. The 3 vehicles are parked outside. Pause. The porch lights are on. All broken. The windows swept clean. And on the answering machine there's a message. But here's the first big mistake of the investigation. One of the friends who entered the house heard the message and accidentally deleted it. They never knew what that message said. Dramatic pause. Was it a threat? A quote? The voice of the person in charge? We'll never know. The police arrive. They begin to process the scene and find something that leaves them speechless. There are no signs of a struggle. None. There are no signs of forced entry. There's no blood. There are no weapons. There are no signs of violence. But there's something disturbing. Cheryl's cigarette is unlit in an ashtray, half-smoked. As if he'd quit suddenly. The TV is on, but there is no sound. And the strangest thing, the family dog was locked in the bathroom. Alive. Unharmed. But locked. Why would you lock up the dog? The investigation becomes a maze with no way out. They interview hundreds of people. They follow thousands of leads. They examine every detail of these 3 women's lives. Nothing makes sense. Theories begin to emerge. Theory 1, an acquaintance. Someone they trusted. Someone who knocked on the door, and they let him in without hesitation. Someone who managed to dominate 3 women simultaneously without any of them being able to scream or fight back. But who? And how did you transport 3 bodies without anyone noticing in a suburban neighborhood? Theory 2. Local rumors. Some say Cheryl had been receiving strange calls in the weeks leading up to the incident. Calls from someone who was breathing but not speaking. Stalking? Obsession? Theory 3. The most chilling. The connection to Larry Dwayne Hall. Hall is a confessed serial killer, responsible for the deaths of at least 4 young women in the Midwest during the 1980s and 1990s. In 1994, while in prison, he told a cellmate, "I know where the women of Springfield are." Was it true, or just a bragging from an attention-seeking psychopath? The most concrete clue came years later. A forensic geologist and a private detective independently analyzed the case. Both came to the same disturbing conclusion. They believe the bodies are buried beneath the parking lot of Cox South Hospital in Springfield. Ground-penetrating radar readings show anomalies consistent with human remains at that specific location. Why haven't they dug? Because the hospital says it would be too costly and disruptive. 33 years later, Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy are still missing. Their families are still waiting for answers. And somewhere in Springfield, Missouri, possibly under tons of concrete, 3 women disappeared into a summer night without making a sound. They wait to be found. But if you think a disappearance from the safety of a home is disturbing, wait until you hear what happened to a man in the middle of nowhere in Texas, screaming for help, with witnesses listening. And yet, it disappeared. August 8, 2013. State Highway 277. Coke County, Texas. It's past midnight. The darkness of the Texas desert is absolute. There's no moon, no artificial lights, just miles and miles of nothing. Brandon Lawson, 26, is driving his pickup truck. He's just had an argument with his girlfriend. He's upset. He decides to take a drive to clear his head. Bad decision. His truck runs out of gas in the middle of the road. It's 1 a.m. He's stranded. Brandon calls his brother Kyle. He tells him he ran out of gas at mile marker 181. He asks him to come help him. Kyle tells him he's on his way, but he's 30 minutes away. Brandon decides he can't wait on the road. He says he's going to walk toward a lighted area he sees in the distance. It's the last time Kyle hears his brother relaxed. At 1:19 a.m., a truck driver drives by and sees Brandon's abandoned pickup truck. Concerned, he calls 911 to report a dangerously parked vehicle. But here's the weird thing. Records show that Brandon also called 911 at almost the same time. And what he said on that call is absolutely terrifying. The recording of Brandon Lawson's 911 call has been analyzed by experts, researchers, and millions of listeners online. It lasts 54 seconds. And no one can agree on what the hell he's saying. I'm going to tell you excerpts. Listen carefully. Brandon. Yes, I'm out in the country, east of country. I need a state trooper, please. Running in the forest, they please, hurry. They chased us into the forest, please, hurry. The call ends abruptly. The 911 dispatcher is confused. Is someone chasing Brandon? Were they chasing us? Are there more people? Who are they? When the police arrive 50 minutes later, there is no one there. Brandon's truck is there. Door open. Engine cold. Empty. But Brandon vanished. His brother Kyle arrives almost simultaneously. He searches for Brandon, shouting his name. Nothing. The police conduct a cursory search with flashlights. They say they don't see anything suspicious and leave. Yes, they're leaving. They assume Brandon is intoxicated or drugged and will return on his own. But Brandon never comes back. The next day, his family organizes a massive search. Volunteers comb the area. Sniffer dogs follow his scent some way into the woods and lose him completely, as if Brandon had been lifted. 2 years later, in January 2015, a worker found human remains just 900 meters from where the van was found. DNA tests remain inconclusive for years due to degradation. Finally, in 2022, they confirm it's Brandon Lawson. But that doesn't answer any questions. On the contrary, it multiplies them. What happened to him that night? Theory 1. Brandon had a psychotic episode.
Panic.
Paranoia. He ran into the desert, believing he was being chased, and died of exposure or dehydration. But why did the dogs lose their trail so abruptly? And what about those sounds in the call? Theory 2. Brandon was murdered. Some analyze the call and swear they hear other voices. Aggressive voices. As if someone were attacking them while they were calling. A crime of opportunity? Was he in the wrong place at the wrong time? Theory 3. And this is the one that deeply disturbs me. Brandon witnessed something he wasn't supposed to see. That area of Texas is known for drug trafficking. Cartels move merchandise at night along deserted highways. Did Brandon see anything? An exchange? People who couldn't leave witnesses? Is that why he said they chased us? Was there someone else with him who also disappeared? The mystery deepens when you listen to the full call, analyzed by forensic audio experts. Some claim to hear, "They shot a guy, I have them in the truck, there's a Mexican." Are these phrases real, or is it auditory pareidolia? Are our brains searching for patterns in the chaos? The only thing that is certain is this. Brandon Lawson called desperately for help. Someone or something terrified him so much that he ran into the darkness of the desert. And he was never seen alive again. His family still has no answers. They still don't know what happened in those fateful minutes between his last call and his death. But if you think dying alone in the Texas desert is terrifying, brace yourself. Because now we're going to talk about the most inexplicable case of all. 9 people. All experts. All prepared. All of them died in circumstances that defy the laws of physics and sanity. Ural Mountains, Soviet Union. January 1959. 9 experienced hikers embark on a winter expedition. They are not tourists. They are veteran skiers, all graduates or students of the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, an engineer. He had completed dozens of similar expeditions. He knew those mountains. Their goal, to reach Mount Otorten, a remote summit. Difficulty, Category 3, the highest. The names of the 9. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Rustam Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonischenko, Nikolai Thibault-Brignoles, Semyon Zolotaryov. 9 people who entered the mountain. 9 people who never came out. At least not alive. January 28, 1959. The group begins their hike. Everything goes according to plan. Dyatlov meticulously documents the journey in his diary. They camp. They eat. They laugh. These are photographs of camaraderie and adventure. February 1st, they reach the edge of the high mountain range. They decide to camp. Here they make their first mistake. Instead of descending into the protected forest area, they camp on the exposed slope of a mountain that the locals call Kholat Syakhl. In the Mansi language, it means Mountain of the Dead. That is the last entry in Dyatlov's diary. That's the last photograph they took while they were alive. They were supposed to return on February 12th. When they didn't, a search party was organized. What they found changed everything. February 26th. Rescuers locate the tent. It's half collapsed, partially buried in snow. But it wasn't the weather that destroyed it. It was cut. From the inside. Someone used a knife to rip open the tent from the inside. As if they were desperate to get out. As if something was chasing them. But here's the incomprehensible thing. All their gear was inside. Backpacks.
Food.
Extra clothes.
Boots.
The boots. They left the tent in the middle of a Siberian winter, with temperatures of minus 30 degrees Celsius, without suitable shoes. Some were barefoot, others only with socks. What kind of terror makes you run towards certain freezing to death? The rescuers followed the footprints in the snow. They led downhill into the forest. 1.5 kilometers from the store, under a huge cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies. Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonischenko. Both dressed only in underwear. Both frozen. But here's the strange thing. There were broken branches on the cedar tree, 5 meters up. as if someone had frantically climbed up to observe something, to hide from something. Near the cedar, they had tried to start a fire. It was out. Both Yuri's hands were severely burned. Why would you let your hands burn like that? How desperate were you for warmth or light? Between the tent and the cedar, they found 3 more bodies in the following days. Igor Dyatlov 300 meters from the tent, face up, as if he'd been trying to get back. Zenaida Kolmogorova 630 meters from the tent, her face in the snow, defensive wounds on her hands. Rustem Slobodin 480 meters from the tent, skull fracture. All 3 died of hypothermia, but they were trying to get back to the tent. What were they fleeing from? And why, after fleeing, did they try to return? But the real nightmare began when they found the last 4 bodies. 2 months later, May 4th, in a ravine 75 meters from the cedar, buried under 4 meters of snow. Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignoles, Semyon Zolotaryov. And his conditions were impossible. Ludmila Dubinina. His tongue was missing. It had been completely torn out at the root. His eyes were missing. Part of his lip was missing. His ribs were fractured so severely that his heart was filled with blood. Nikolai Thibault-Brignoles. Massive skull fractures. The coroner said the impact was equivalent to a high-speed car crash. But there was nothing in that ravine that could cause such a wound. Alexander Kolevatov. He had no eyes. His nose was deformed. Semyon Zolotaryov. Fractured ribs. Missing eyes. Massive chest wounds. The coroner, Boris Vozrozdeny, officially stated. The injuries could not have been caused by another human being. The force required was comparable to a car accident. However, there is no significant external damage to the soft tissue. Something crushed their chests and skulls with tremendous force, but from within, as if the pressure were coming from all directions simultaneously. And there's more. Some of their clothing was highly radioactive, levels that shouldn't be there. Ludmila's tongue was not eaten by scavengers. Forensic analysis showed that it was removed while she was still alive or immediately after death. By whom?
Why?
Witnesses in nearby towns reported bright orange lights in the sky the night of his death. Luminous spheres moving erratically. Official investigators wrote in their reports, an unknown and compelling force caused them to abandon the store. Unknown and compelling force. What does that mean? The theories are endless. Avalanche. But there was no evidence of an avalanche, and they were experts who knew how to avoid them. Animal attacks. But no animal causes these kinds of internal injuries without destroying the skin. Soviet secret weapons. Military tests gone wrong. Is that why the radiation? Infrasound. Katabatic winds that create frequencies that induce irrational panic. They make you flee for no reason. But nothing, absolutely nothing, explains everything. It doesn't explain why they cut the tent from the inside. It does not explain catastrophic internal injuries without external trauma. It does not explain the radiation. It doesn't explain the torn-out tongue. It does not explain the orange spheres. The Soviet government classified the case. It closed it quickly. It declared the area off-limits for 3 years. Because, in 2019, the Russian government reopened the investigation. Its official conclusion, after 60 years, was an avalanche. An avalanche that left no trace. An avalanche that broke their bones from within. An avalanche that took away their eyes and tongues. A radioactive avalanche that appears as orange lights in the sky.
Clear.
9 people entered the mountain of the dead. 9 people found something. Something that terrified them so much that they preferred to freeze to death than stay in the tent. Something that hurt them in ways that science can't explain. And that something is still there. In the mountains, expecting. 3 stories. 3 disappearances that break all the rules. Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy quietly vanished from their home. Brandon Lawson, screaming for help as something chased him in the dark. The Dyatlov Pass 9 fleeing a terror so profound that they chose certain death. What do they have in common? The sudden immediacy. 1 second they're there. The next not. the complete lack of a satisfactory explanation. Each official response raises more questions, and the ongoing pain of those left behind. Families who never knew what happened, who were never able to close that chapter. These cases remind us of something fundamental. We live in a world we think we understand, that we think we control, where everything has a logical explanation. But there are cracks, moments where reality slips away, where rules are broken, where people simply disappear into nothingness. And the scariest thing is this: it can happen to anyone, whenever. You don't need to go to a cursed mountain in Siberia. You don't need to run out of gas in a Texas desert. You don't need anything special, just being in the wrong place, at the wrong time. So now I ask you, what do you think really happened? Are the 3 Springfield women under that parking lot? Or were they taken somewhere no one has considered? Did Brandon Lawson see something he shouldn't have? Or did his mind snap in those final moments of loneliness and panic? Were the Dyatlov Pass hikers victims of a secret weapon? A natural phenomenon we don't understand? Or something beyond our comprehension? Leave me your theories in the comments, no matter how crazy they sound. Because in cases like these, the crazy is sometimes the closest thing to the truth. Have you experienced something inexplicable? A disappearance in your family or community that was never resolved? A moment where reality seemed to slip away? Share it. Maybe together we can find patterns, connections that authorities overlooked. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll confirm that there are things in this world we'll never understand. Because the truth is this: some doors, once opened, refuse to close. Some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. And some disappearances are so profound, so incomprehensible, that they defy our human need for answers. Tonight, I leave you with one final question. If you could know the truth behind one of these cases, would you really want to know? Because sometimes, the answer is more terrifying than the mystery. I'm your host. This has been Untold Nightmares. Don't forget that somewhere right now someone else is disappearing. No explanation. Without a trace. No goodbye. Sleep well if you can. And if you leave home tomorrow, be sure to come back. Cheryl Levitt, Susie Streeter, and Stacy McCall have been missing since June 7, 1992. Brandon Lawson disappeared on August 9, 2013. His remains were found in 2022. The cause of his death remains unknown. The 9 hikers in the Dyatlov Pass incident died on February 2, 1959. The case remains unsolved.